thank you for joining us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele. The youthful population in Nigeria, experts say, is a critical asset in driving the digital economy. With over 60% of the population under the age of 25, there is a substantial potential for digital entrepreneurship and innovation that keeps yielding significant socio-economic benefits. Nigeria is blessed with incredible young minds who have continued to demonstrate their ingenuity through different innovative skills. Young people are leading the charge in the digital adoption and innovation, and Nigeria is not left out. Recently, the world celebrated the International Youth Day that was on August 12th. Now, with the theme From Clicks to Progress, Youth Digital Pathway for Sustainable Development. It highlights the intersection of youth's digital innovation and sustainable development, also emphasizing the crucial role young people play in using digital technologies to drive sustainable development. For Nigeria, the federal government recognizes the potential in promoting digital skills and has continued to provide enabling platforms for young creatives in the digital world to not only showcase their talents, but also explore opportunities. Now, these initiatives foster a culture of innovation and creativity, encouraging development of homegrown digital solutions. Of course, there are gaps that limits innovators from exploring these, or rather their innovations. And beyond that, there is also the aspect of digital literacy. But you agree with me that one potent way of proffering solutions is through digital skills. Our focus on Platform is promoting digital skills and innovation. And our guest is Mr. Bawa. He's the CEO and co-founder Every Farmer Nigeria. Call him an innovator, you will not be wrong. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Bawa.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let you into Mr. Bawa's profile to know a bit more about him. Bawa is currently he's doing an MNC program on procurement, logistics, and supply chain management. He holds BSc Honours Applied Computing, that was from Southern Cross University, Australia, and then HND in Computing, Business Technology and Examination Council, that's from the UK. Bawa is a dynamic technology leader with a proven track record in driving business innovation and harnessing risk management to fuel growth. As the CEO and co-founder of Every Farmer Ecosystem Limited, it's an agricultural software and integrated agri-value chain platform which serves more than 20,000 smallholder farmers. Is spearheading the transformation of Nigeria's agricultural sector by leveraging cutting-edge technology and forging strategic partnerships. He has served in the corporate and financial sector. Well done, Mr. Bawa.
Thank you very much.
All right. Our panelist, of course, is one of our ICT correspondents here in NTA, Chim Demma in the BC. Chim, I like to call her Chim, so forgive me, please. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Bawa.
Yes.
First of all, congratulations. You were part of the first cohort.
Yes.
That is the iHatch Innovation Program put together by NITDA.
Yes.
That was in 2022.
Yes.
And within the space of 2 years, we're seeing your innovation thrive. So that's why I'm congratulating you.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so but when we look at this year's International Youth Day that has to do with clicks to progress. Of course, we're talking about digital pathways for young people, contributing their own quota and also opening new frontiers for them. For you as an innovator, what clicked, for you?
Okay, so innovation primarily is about, the use of technology over conventional processes. And we have a lot of gap in that space, like you've mentioned. For you to be an innovator, you just simply need to look for a problem that fits and then come up with a solution that fits. For some of the gaps for young people, they have to be able to understand that the fact that there is a gap does not necessarily mean that there is a market, because the end goal at the end of the day is to profess solutions, but at the end of the day, you're expected to make money from it. So digital innovation, or the whole term as it stands today, provides us with the opportunity to create the solutions. And for me as a trained software engineer, from my background, I'm basically trained to do that, to profess solutions or to build digital products and services. But again, looking for a problem that fits becomes the most challenging part, because you're not building a product for yourself, you're building a product for a market. So for young people, I think as much as it is important for us to get those skill sets, we also have to prepare our minds towards that of problem solving. So that was what clicked for me from day one. I wasn't a farmer, to be honest, but I saw an opportunity in the agricultural space. And I took time to learn about the agricultural space.
Wow.
It took me time. It took me over 5 years, thereabout, from 2013. And the moment of that transformation for me into that space was when I got involved in a World Bank program called WAP, West African Agricultural Productivity Program. I easily realized that there is just so much problem in this space and nobody's looking at it. If you look at the fintech space today, you would realize that the banks have done pretty much a lot, so much to create the enabling environment for other young innovators to build on. But in the agricultural space, it was literally empty, So I took the challenge upon myself and my team to build a product for that space. So it is about creating products and services using digital technology or using, your digital skills, to be able to provide products and services for the market.
Tim?
There are existing innovations.
Yes.
In agri-tech and other spheres. As an innovator, what makes an innovation stand out so that interested youths can see how they can make their innovations peculiar?
Yes. So initially I talked about problem fit and product market fit. That means that when you're building a product, most times we tend to want to build a product out of our imagination, what we think a problem is and what we think the solution should be. But in reality, there are only very few exceptional cases where people actually build products out of solving a problem that they have encountered, and then they're trying to fix it because they've looked around and then there is no solution for it. And then they get to realize that there's a market for that kind of, solution, because there are lots of people who are facing the same kind of challenge, but in most cases, for people who want to build digital solutions or products and services, it is very, very important that you understand the market that you want to build it for. You could build a product and nobody uses it. It could be the best, actually, and somebody would come up with something that is less, inferior to what you've built, and then he has all the market in his hands, So that is a very critical point in building digital solutions, understanding the market, understanding the space, the sector, and then understanding the need of the people, the people you're trying to build this for. So you have to carry out extensive market research, not just sitting down on the internet, on Google, and asking, okay, what's the size of this market? And then it tells you that you have over 50 million people in the agri space, or, 60% of Nigerians making a living from the agricultural space. No, the agricultural space itself is quite large. There's crop production, there is animal husbandry. So you have to know which part of that space you're trying to build for, and then dig deeper to understand what the needs of the people are. In our own case, it's more or less about building financial products and services for smallholder farmers. Why? Because we realize that the smallholder farming space are one of the most excluded space in the financial sector.
And they are the most relevant.
Yes,
because they bring that food on your table.
90% of the food that we eat comes from smallholder farmers. So it's very important that while we're talking about national security and food security, that these people are brought into the formal financial space.
So let's explore your Every Farmer Nigeria. How does it work? Now, let's say I'm a smallholder farmer and I want to tap into your digital solution.
Yes.
How do I get connected?
Okay, so now talking about problems again, even while we started building this product, we got to realize that farmers themselves, might not be so inclined to using digital products.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have to create touch points for them to be able to interact with that product. So that's a challenge that we had to solve, and that means creating an agent network, empowering this agent with digital tools, and then they become the face-serving side of the product.
So it's a value
with the
chain
farmers.
now.
So it's a value chain,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, looking at agri-tech,
Yes.
are there job opportunities? The federal government is keen on job creation,
Yes.
especially for the youth. So are there job opportunities?
Of course, there are job opportunities literally in every sector. And I'm going to say this, that we can easily double our GDP using digital innovation, and that means empowering the youth. Of course, the government would have a lot to do in driving that process, which it's already doing. I mean, like you mentioned, the cohort which we came, we're the first members of the first cohort, and then we came, we emerged the top 3 in that period. Now, for young people, having job opportunities in the digital space or in the agricultural space, I mean, technology today has taken over literally everything, from the conventional processes or methods that to the unconventional ones. You don't necessarily have to create anything new. It's literally about taking what is already existing and then adding technology to it, making it more accessible to people. So if you can make things more accessible to people using technology, for example, financial product to smallholder farmers, you're already creating a job not just for yourself, but even for people within the value chain. And I give you an example. In agriculture, for example, in crop production, I would use crop production. You have 2 parts of the economic of production, what we call EOP. You have inputs and then you have services. Inputs meaning fertilizer, chemical, and the rest of them. And then services meaning going to the field to provide services like area application of fertilizer or area application of pesticides. Now, what the farmers do right now is that they use knapsacks, yeah? And the knapsack is very, very inefficient in the sense that when you use a knapsack, you lose over 70% of the chemicals that you apply on the farm. That's one. Secondly, you also, you waste 70% of the chemicals that you apply on the farm. You waste water, So at the end of the day, what you're getting is less than 30% of what you've applied on the farm. Now, there are technologies that enhance the usability of these chemicals and fertilizer on the farm by over 70 to 80%. And these technologies are not so expensive. Using drones, for example, it's a way of providing the services to the farmers. That is digital innovation. You're bringing innovation to the farm. You're already automating simple farming processes that would enhance the outcome or the yield per hectare of the farmer, also in line increasing the income of the farmer. So those are opportunities for young people to find jobs in that space.
Mr. Bawa, as you were talking, I could just imagine how passionate you've been studying the system, especially in the rural communities. There is an estimation that about 28 million jobs in Nigeria and about 230 million jobs across sub-Saharan Africa, will need digital skills come 2030.
Yes.
Now, that will require a lot of investment. Now, and we're seeing the disparity, in the aspect of digital literacy, especially for you now, who, through your innovation, you've been able to relate with these smallholder farmers who are in the rural communities. Now, you are familiar with their peculiar challenges beyond just farmers, being in rural areas. How do we, bridge these gaps if we must meet up, and having more young persons get involved?
Yes. So we have to be very intentional about this, you know. The federal government is doing a lot, but it's not enough. State governments, even down to the local government authorities, have to be involved in this. We have to change or redraft our curriculums in our schools. We have to bring STEM education and make it a compulsory subject right from primary school through to secondary school. I mean, when India started, it started by discovering people right from that tender age.
Yes.
You know, and at early age. I mean, right now, if you look at the global, the leading tech companies in the world, I mean, they are literally all Indians. You know, from Microsoft to Google, you know, you have Indian CEOs, people who actually studied in India, not America. You know, people who migrated, who are migrants. So Nigeria can do the same. Nigeria can achieve the same. We have population, which is an advantage to us, and our population is quite young, you know, and therefore, what we need to do is to actually invest a lot in this sector to be able to drive the adoption of digital skills down to the primary school level.
Go ahead.
Yes, and thereby, if you're able to do that, you would realize that in a very short time, in a very, very near distance future, you know, the country will begin to reap the benefit of that effort. You know, so I really want to encourage our leaders, you know, and I mean, for private sector players, there are quite a number of them who have done a lot to get us to where we are. For example, I started my computer education right from here in Nigeria, from Aptech in the early 2000s. You know, we have the likes of CC Hub and the rest of them who are actually doing quite a lot, but it's not enough. I mean, for a population of over 200 million people, and then you have majority of that population being young people, you know, there's still a lot to be done. I mean, I saw the last application for the 3MTT by NCC, and it was overwhelming, the number of people that applied. You know, and there are quite a number of people that are angry. I have relatives that applied and keep calling me to say, look, I didn't get enough. But I mean, it's competitive and there's not enough resources to go around. So I would like, the state governments to really invest in that. If we're able to invest a lot in digital skills acquisition, we will not be having the kind of crisis that we're having by young people now, you know, because everybody will have something to do.
Exactly.
Really.
You talked about 3MTT.
Yes.
The federal government is actually driving that. I want to know, in your own understanding, what do you think 3MTT, that's 3 Million Technical Talents Program, what do you think this program, how do you think it will impact the youth? Okay, so we are right now in the 4th industrial era, right? I mean, we've missed out on the 3rd industrial era. You know,
but there's a reawakening.
Yeah, yes, there's a reawakening. And right now, the reawakening that we experience now would have to be driven by technology. Why? Because if you look at what is happening, I mean, let me just take a simple product, for example. We can have a cup of coffee right now in front of us. But the innovation to bring that cup of coffee to us starts right from the selection and the breeding of the seed that was cultivated for us to be able to harvest that coffee and, you know, get it brewed into our cup, you know. But if you look at the whole process, you could have little or no human interaction in the whole process, down to the point that you have a robot bring the cup of coffee and serve you. And that value chain, you know, it's a whole chain of activities, it's a whole chain of people or machines doing one thing or the other. And that is what technology can actually do for us. You know, so in the 4th industrial era, we have to be very, very intentional about building this skill set. So the 3MTT, you know, from what I understand, is actually building skill sets, you know, that at the moment are very important for the country. Skill sets in data science, for example, skill set in front-end engineering, back-end engineering, or full-stack engineering, if you want to call it that, you know, design and all of that. And these are skill sets that are needed, you know. And right now, our best talents don't stay in the country. They leave.
No, they don't.
We have a few of them that are working remotely, and that's the beauty about it. That's the beauty about digital innovation. People can actually work from their homes. You know, so the fact that a young person is carrying a laptop does not mean he's jobless or does not mean he's into some fraudulent activities. It could be that he's actually earning good money, you know, legal money right from home. And this is what digital skill does. So we have to be very intentional about it. The 3 million technical talent is set to achieve a certain goal. But that certain goal would only pinch or scratch the surface of what we need as a country. So we need more investment in that space. I appreciate what the federal government is doing through NITA and NCC, but I also want to encourage the state government. I know that they have maybe the likes replica of NITA in the states, but the real investment for those agencies to be able to be empowered to carry these skill sets down to the grassroots and have young people trained in it is very, very. Young people are aware of these opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, as of 2 days ago, I've had 2 cousins of mine call me to say, look, I want to learn this thing. How do I go about it? How do I go? So I've also, within our company, we have an internship program that we do where we train the skill set that we need in the company. Why? Because we can't even afford to hire the experienced ones. Some of them have been poached. Some of the ones we've trained have been poached by bigger companies who pay more money. I mean, some of them are earning more than I'm earning right now.
So now you're losing people.
You're losing.
Okay, but you're equipping them,
yeah,
right?
but we're trying to replace
Okay,
those
so
ones.
let's look at artificial intelligence,
Yes.
which is the new trade.
Buzzword.
Let me call it a trade,
Yes.
because everybody's tapping into that. And it's good that the federal government has also shown its own commitment through NITDA.
Yes.
We have the National Center for Artificial Intelligence and, of
Yes.
course, robotics, promoting research and development for AI technologies like that. But would you say young people are ready, Nigerians now, are ready to take advantage of this emerging technology? Because we've seen what AI is doing in other parts of the world.
Nigerians are always ready.
Okay.
You can be sure that Nigerians are always ready. I mean, it is out of the over-readiness that has led young people to pick up skills on their own, skills that might not contribute positively to our GDP. All we need to do is to give them a turnaround. Bring these people out of their spaces and give them the right skill set and empower them into the right spaces. So Nigerians are ready. Nigerian youths, I mean, if we talking about a country with one of the most dynamic youth population, Nigeria stands out. So there's no doubt that is not even a subject of discussion or argument at all. We just need to do the right thing by investing the right way in our young population. That is all we need to do. AI would not take away jobs. Yeah, it's going to take away certain jobs.
That's the fear.
It's going to take away certain jobs, but it's also going to replicate it or replace it with new jobs.
Because there will be a value chain.
Yes. Okay, so right now, the fact that I can sit down and get an MOU generated for me by ChatGPT does not mean I don't need a lawyer. I still need to send it to a lawyer to review it, and I still have to pay that legal fee. So has it replaced my lawyer? No, it hasn't. The fact that I can sit down and give a topic and say I need a book using this prompt does not mean that it replaces the editor. The editor will still have to look at it and say, okay, you need to change, let us adjust this way, and then you're still paying that fee. So it's not taking away the jobs that we think it's going to take away. I think it's only going to enhance our ability, give us some kind of superhuman power, our ability to do things better, and in a shorter time.
If I borrow what you're trying to say, of course it will open new frontiers, new opportunities, because if you want to tap into the talent of Nigerians, the young Nigerians, and them leveraging this use of AI into whatever they're doing to promote their digital skills, of course, we'll see the benefit of that.
Yes.
But beyond that, just recently, the federal government came out to say they want to train 30 million youths on digital skills across the country, as a way of helping them harness their potential for them to also key into digital economy. Now, when there's an initiative like this, I'm asking you this because you have benefited,
yes,
and
I
you were
have.
seeing the result of it,
Yes.
When there's an initiative like this, how would you advise young people to position themselves? Sometimes some people are in doubt if this is real, but it is real because you're a leading example.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
what would you advise? What are those requisite skills in terms of positioning yourself and be ready for that opportunity? Beyond the whole, we know sometimes transparency comes to play and all of that.
Yes, yes. So for young people, I think the basic thing for them is to have the, call it basic requirement or prerequisite. I mean, you should be able to read and write, one. And because digital skills, especially if you're going into the software development aspect of it, has a little bit of some kind of mathematics, everybody should have that basic maths knowledge. And then thirdly, you should be very, very patient, because during the process, there will be a moment when you feel like, how do we call it? There's this terminology we use for it, where you feel like an alien, like you're not understanding what is happening, like you're not grabbing anything. That's the moment when you need to be patient the most, because, we can't compare ourselves with when you have kids that started learning. I mean, my 5-year-old today can actually use the computer comfortably. He's already learning how to program. He's already doing mathematics for primary 3, whereas he's just getting into primary 1.
Wow.
That's because I've put that STEM education as core in the house for them to learn. So, but in our own case, we have a lot of people who have come out of universities, and it's going to be a little bit challenging for them at the initial stage, but they have to be very patient. They have to be willing to learn and stay in it. The days when it's going to start paying would come. When you least expect it, it's going to start paying. For us in the space already, that are already building companies, there's already a shortage of skill sets. There's already a shortage of skills. Right now, a lot of companies would rather go to Kenya to hire software engineers and the rest of them, because they are sure of the quality of engineers they would get from Kenya. And because a lot of Kenyans don't leave the country. Even when they leave, they come back to Kenya. So we need to be able to build the skill sets. So this 30 million that the government is looking at achieving would go a long way to help people like us, get the right skills. Might not be up to what we want in terms of the quality, but already they've helped us solve a lot of problems. They've given them the foundation that we need. All we need to do now is to bring them into a live working environment or a production environment where you further teach them. They're under the coaching of your senior staffs, and they learn. So it's very, very important. It's not a wasted investment, just like India, and make some foreign exchange. I mean, by the time they go out, even when they are working outside, I mean, we're family oriented. You will never leave your mother who is back in Nigeria or your cousins or relatives. You will always send money back home.
Yes.
And that money would come into our economy.
That's the Nigerian spirit, right?
Yes, that is it. That's the Nigerian spirit.
You talked about your 5-year-old.
Yes.
Using computer.
Yes.
So that brings me to this question. When should digital technology and innovation consciousness start?
Okay, Mr. Bawa, just before you pick up with that, we have to take a break. Right. Chim, you may have to come back with that question. Okay. So let's take a break. We're back. Please stay tuned.
A method for digital literacy is a bot that you can use, you can interact to learn more about digital literacy.
Hello, it's our pleasure to have you join us on platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele.
What is the yardstick for measuring everybody's moral integrity? It's critical at this point in time.
How daunting has that been for the Institute in getting them abreast with all the legislative procedures?
The fact remains that one training workshop is not enough.
Our teeming populace, especially the
NTA's political package, with a third eye on the nation's political scene. I am Fisa Ogunfuyi. Welcome.
You have to be very careful giving space to people who are obviously sponsored to further the agenda of some other groups.
There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions in a closed door sessions. Some of these issues, some of the problems bedeviling of their.
In fact, between June 1st and July 17, 19-point-something billion has left the coffers of the NDDC.
I can say my constituency, they need everything because we don't have anything.
All right, thank you for staying tuned. The conversation is promoting digital skills and innovation. Mr. Bawa, you were going to pick up with a response from Chimdima's question.
At what point should digital technology and innovation consciousness start so that the country can have overwhelming homegrown solutions?
Okay.
The beauty about it now, unlike when we're growing up, when there was no cell phones or smartphones, there were limited places where you could have access to a computer, or even see a computer. Right now, I mean, computers are in the house. The parents who own smartphones.
That's for those who can afford it.
Yeah, I mean, your smartphone itself
Yes,
is a computer, So if you have a smartphone, already your kids are already exposed to digital literacy. It might look like what they are doing is playing games and all of that, but, there are moments when you look at what they are doing and you're surprised. How did you get into this space? How did you do this? How did you do that? They are already exploring, They have a very curious mindset. So they are always looking for what is not there, what is there, what is this meant for. I think parents should take it a step further. You might not have a laptop, you might not have a standing PC, but you can install games that help them learn these digital skills, games that would teach them programming. It will look like what all they're doing is playing games, but actually what they're doing is actually learning how to code. Those kind of games, would help them a lot. Games that would help them learn quantitative reasoning and the rest of them. Games that would expose them to mathematics, in a very simple way and format. These are ways to expose kids to these things, And before you know what is happening, by the time they're in school and then there is a desktop somewhere or a laptop somewhere and in the lab, these kids will find their ways to those computers. You might not be tech savvy as a parent, but you can be sure that, in their whole cycle of friends, there are kids who are a little bit more advanced because their parents have been able to expose them to something a bit more advanced, and they tend to teach these kids. I mean, the handlers of my kids in school had to call to say, look, we noticed that your kid are actually learning advanced maths at home because each time we bring a new topic in school, he's the one teaching the others in the class.
How old is he again?
5.
You said 5.
Yes. And that's because we've exposed them to these things quite early.
Wow.
So there's no wrong time or early or late time to start. Parents just need to be a bit conscious of the fact that this is the era we're in or that we're moving into, and that the advantage you give to your kids will determine how competitive they are later on in life. And everybody wants their kids to be ahead, so you have to give them the opportunity to explore some of these things.
And Mr. Bawa, we've seen young creatives, even teenagers, come up with mind-blowing applications.
Yes.
That's part of their innovation.
Yes.
If we want to look at the school aspect now, we know that a lot of schools are investing in robust, digital literacy, but there's still a gap. What would be your recommendation, especially for schools, to catch them young, secondary schools, beyond primary?
So if you don't expose or throw a lot of these options at the kids, you will not know where their strength is and where their weakness is. I think we should move away from the conventional way of doing things, education, of saying, okay, I mean, we have polytechnics where people go to learn technical education, but do they even really learn technical education these days? That's another question. And then we have the university where you go and then you learn to be a researcher of some sort. Now I think from early age, we should be, our schools, primary schools to secondary schools, should be able to have, introduce STEM education into their curriculum.
You said it should be made compulsory.
Yes, it should be made compulsory for kids to go to these labs and learn these things, For them, the kids, they are just playing, But for you, you know what you're doing. You know you're channeling their mind towards something. And at the end of the day, these kids will come up to become the innovators and inventors that the country requires in the future. So we should be very intentional about it. We should invest a lot in STEM education for our kids. Our schools should have dedicated laboratories, you know, well equipped with all of this equipment for these kids to learn, to go a long way.
Okay, a follow-up to that.
Yes.
Early this year, a Nigerian university won this African Challenge competition in Kenya.
Yes.
And the $20,000 prize was won.
Yes.
Now, it was a university that took out time to prep its students for that.
Yes.
How can other universities take a cue from this?
Exactly. So you see, I want to believe that that university must have, you know, gone into some sort of partnership with a tech company or provider somewhere that came to build a lab in the school, and where these interested students can go and learn and enroll in it. I know ABU is doing something similar, you know. So I think that is the kind of things that we should emulate, or other universities should emulate. You don't have to do it alone. There are companies that are willing and ready to partner with you to set up excellent centers in those schools, where those kind of skill sets can, you know, be taught to the university students. And if you do that, like you said, I mean, you'll be surprised that maybe among those students, they never really had an intense training before getting into the university, you know, but they've gone and they've won a prize for the country, and we're all proud about it, yeah? That's the Nigerian excellence. So imagine if you can do that from an early age. Imagine what you'll be getting, the kind of results you would get. I mean, it will become very unbeatable.
Talking about private sectors, the private sector coming in. When you talk of innovations or innovators, you people need enough investment so your solution can thrive.
Yes.
So how is it for you people right now, currently, under this Startup Act that has been signed into law?
Yes. Okay, so one of the critical challenge that most entrepreneurs, especially tech entrepreneurs, face in the country is issue around funding. You know, beyond the sleepless nights of building your product, you have to go and look for, you know, people who would invest in you. You have to pitch. You have to be able to convince people to bring money and put in your company. It's quite tough. It's challenging. I can't count the number of investors I've had meetings with. I've lost track of that, you know, but most of the investment that we get that comes into our space are all foreign investments, you know. I think that is also an opportunity for local investors to come into the space. And maybe we have limited local investors, especially in the tech space, you know. But again, another thing that I believe the Startup Act is trying to do or would focus on would be to help local investors understand what it means to invest in the tech space, you know. A lot of people want to invest in something tangible, something they can see, you know, and they can touch. And
with immediate results.
Yes, with immediate result. But in the tech space, it takes time, you know. Sometimes it could take as long as maybe 10 years. Sometimes it could be 5 years, 3 years, depending on the technology and the space. You know, there is no one single blueprint for how for the gestation cycle of a tech startup to be able to pick up. There's no one single blueprint to it. So our investors need to understand these things. I think we should also, you know, train a lot of investors into understanding how tech investment works, you know, and groom a lot of local investors. There are a lot of people who want to invest. They have money piled up sitting somewhere. They want to put their money into a venture somewhere, but they don't have an idea of how to go about it. If the country can look at that particular space or sector and be able to bring people or pull funds from those kind of people towards investing in startups. I know that the Startup Act makes provision for funding, but this funding is going to come partly from the government. You know, there's also provision for local investors to come in, but I don't know what the modalities are to be able to harness that kind of funding, but it would go a long way to help us drive investment in that space.
Okay, and I want to believe that why some of these local investors, frown at that is because most innovators, don't have a sustainability plan.
Yes.
They start up something, and along the line, you see it just fold up.
Okay. So I would use Israel, for example, what the Israeli government has been able to do. What the Israeli government did is similar to what our Startup Act is set up to do. But in their own case, they've also gone as far as investing in every startup that an investor is interested in. So if you come in and say you're interested in startup A or B, the government would invest a part of that money as security or guarantee to secure or to boost confidence of any investor coming in to invest in that company. But I also want to believe that there are modalities, mechanisms put in place to make sure that that investment does not go down the drain.
Nobody wants their investment
nobody
to go
wants
down
their
the
money
drain.
to go down the drain. But the thing about tech investment is that sometimes it might not be that people spend your money fraudulently. It might just be that the product wasn't meant to be.
So you want to say that?
Yes.
So, Mr. Bawa, would you
yes.
say there risk involved?
Of course, there's risk. Even in the conventional, there's always risk. There's always risk. But what we try to do is to make sure that we minimize the risk. When I started Every Farmer, for example, I think the first money I invested in Every Farmer came from my wife. She took the risk.
Women are always supportive.
Yeah, she took the risk, of investing in me, even when she wasn't certain, anything was going to come out of it. We've also had our own downtime. We've had our own challenges. We've gone some months without being able to pay salaries and all of that. We've gone through a lot. But you have to be able to stick your neck in there if you're sure and you're certain that, look, you're in the right space. In our own case, we know that it's either we are ahead of time. We cannot be late, because if we're late, it means that the space is already saturated.
Okay, so can you outline strategies you use to surmount these challenges?
Okay, so one of the things that we did at our early stage was to actually go to the field, surveys, ask questions, interview farmers. What are your challenges? What do you think we can do or bring to help alleviate this problem? We measured all the questions and the answers that we got. And with that, we're able to build specific products and services tailored for those needs. And then you have to take that product back to them to test it again and see. You're always going to be reiterating, you're always going to be adjusting what you've done over time. Till this very moment, we're still building, adding new things, removing things here and there. But the consistency of it, the persistency, it's a very, very lonely space. Let me say this.
Have you seen impact?
Yes, we have, and we're seeing a lot of impact.
Right. You know why I'm asking you this?
Yes.
So that young innovators out there will take a cue from you.
Yes, we're seeing a lot of impact, and the impact, we didn't even feel the impact that much until of recent. It was tough to take our product to the market when there was government like this. Money, the Anchor Borrowers Fund that came in, because the government was literally in the same space as we were. So it was quite difficult, because if you're going to sell credit financing product to farmers and the government is giving them the same thing you're bringing free, it became a challenge. But later on, when that money dried up, you could see people rushing, calling, coming. They want this product. They want the service. And right now we're overwhelmed. We don't have enough. We have over 50,000 farmers, and we're only able to maybe service about 15,000 or thereabout. And not just alone, we're doing it with partners.
Now, that's where I'm headed, your partners.
Yes.
A lot of young innovators, usually just want to thrive on their own and see beyond the investments they get, and they want to try their luck, so to say. And there are always opportunities to unlock the digital skills market. You are thinking ahead. You're thinking of expanding. You're thinking of tapping into opportunities. Part of that's thinking, so to say, or think tank, so to say. Are you looking at partnering, bringing the government into it?
Yes,
at your level?
Yes, we are already, in fact, I would say that we are a portfolio company of the government already, being
fantastic.
part of the IHATCH, the cohort, first cohort.
Okay.
That means there's an alumni, of startups that come through that pipeline, and each time we need support from the government, we get it. I could say I want to see the Minister of Agri, for example, and all I need to do is to reach out to NITA, and they would give me a letter of introduction to see.
So that's part of the benefits you get for being part of an initiative.
Yes.
Okay.
And with that as well, it gives you some level of credibility when you're going to private partners, like, for example, financial institutions. Our partnership comes working together with the likes of FCMB and maybe Sterling Bank. But the challenge, one of the challenge that you're going to face partnering with such partners is when you don't have anything to show for it. So there must be some level of growth. That means you must have been able to do something on your own. If you've been able to risk it, take the risk, not waiting for someone's funds to come in and do things on your own, it gives you some level of credibility where the partner that you're approaching will look at it and say, okay, yes, now I can work with this person. I'm pretty certain that we can achieve something together. And that's where partnership comes. In fact, partnership is like a rocket. It sort of shoots you up, because I can tell you that the likes of FCMB are financing over 1,000 farmers for us, so that's a lot. When you look at the cost, the EOP, the cost of financing just one farmer, and then you times it by 1,000, you realize that that's not a small amount of money. So the banks have their challenges of creating or curating financial products for that space. They need someone who interfaces, or serves as interfaces with smallholder farmers for them to be able to use as a pipeline to push financial product and service to those farmers. And our platform happens to be one of those platforms that they are using. There are other platforms that they are also using, but ours is one of those platforms.
Okay, we're winding down. Chim?
Okay, but when you talk of digital technology and innovation, connectivity is critical.
Yes.
These farmers are in rural areas or hard-to-reach areas where currently Nigeria's broadband penetration is at 50%.
Yes.
Or under 50%.
Yes.
So how can we bridge this gap so that these farmers can access digital technology?
Yes, so those are some of the challenges that you're going to face if you're working with the last mile, or the people that we say are at the bottom of the pyramid, which most of them are smallholder farmers and a lot of other artisans working in that space. So in our own case, you have to go to the farm, you have to go to the field, you have to go map the farm, know the size of the farm, and then that data has to be available on our server for us to see it remotely. So it's challenging sometimes when you go to the field and then there's no internet connectivity and then you cannot synchronize data. So what we've been able to do in that circumstance is to make sure that our application works offline. So when you're in the field, as long as you're ready, the first time you log into the app, it stores your login details directly on your phone. Encrypted though, very encrypted, so that nobody, when you lose your phone, somebody cannot just carry it and then extract your login details and have access to whatever thing you've done. So when you go to the farm and then you carry out your job, whether it's extension service or whatever it is you're doing, the moment you get to where there's internet connection, the app reads that there's internet connection and then it synchronizes that data.
Okay, Mr. Bawa, that could be a challenge other young innovators may be facing, even they're not into farming, agri-tech, other aspect of digital solutions.
Yes.
So as we wrap up this conversation, what would be your advice, to that young person who is watching this and he's just thinking, how can I leverage, the digital space and contribute my own quota to promoting digital economy and also harness the benefits for myself? What's that hope you're giving that person?
Yeah, so I would say to the young innovator to start from where they are. Look around you. There's always a problem that you can use to develop your skill sets. Try fixing those problems around you with digital products or services. When I started, it was a video rental shop. That was the first solution that I built.
Wow. You've tried your hands on different
Yes,
ways.
of course. I've built solutions in the health service sector, even in the fintech space, and even right now, even with the agri-tech space, we call what we're actually building an agricultural financial tech platform. even though it's an entire integrated value chain platform because of the way the agricultural sector is structured. It's a chain of activities, one interconnected to the other. So for the young entrepreneur, I expect them to start by trying their hands on things. In fact, when you start learning how to build digital skills, there are a lot of lessons, practical lessons that will be provided to you online to solve. You're going to learn how to build calculators. You're going to learn how to build maybe rental shops and all of that. Learn how to build, program an elevator, escalator. All of these things are solutions. What that process is doing is that it's channeling your mind towards understanding how you think and build solutions.
Okay.
So by the time you go through that stage, you would have graduated to the stage where you can now look and say, okay, what solution, what problem is there that is troubling Nigerians that I can help fix that would end up bringing money for me?
Mr. Luna Bawa, thank you so much. And of course, that is in tune with what this year's International Youth Day is striving to achieve. Looking at digital solutions, young people's contribution to digital solutions for sustainable development. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
He is the CEO and co-founder of Every Farmer Nigeria. Call him an innovator, you're not wrong. Thank you so much. We wish you the very best.
Thank you, Ruth.
And please, I hope you've refunded the money back to your wife.
Because we women, we don't forget.
We don't forget. Chimdemma in the BCR, ICT correspondent, thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you for having me, Ruth.
All right. And we've been discussing promoting digital skills and innovation. The world is, going on a very fast lane. And you can take advantage by making yourself very useful by adapting to the new trend when it comes to digital skills and, of course, become that innovator. You're next in line. I'm Ruth Aguwele, and that's Platform. Bye.